Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Fallen London. Today we're going to be carrying on with April's exceptional story, the Deadly Dapperlings. We have two options here. We can go to the club activities. The Inventors Summit looms. What's in here? We can work on the mycelium network, raise funds for the club, or perform field research again. Or we can go snooping around Somerset. The Somerset invention is located somewhere on their campus, and not in the engineering club room. Let's go have a look. You need to find it before you can uncover its mysteries. Let's ask the student body. Most of them keep to themselves, but you could find a few willing to have a brief chat. The engineering club is not especially popular with the students, and it seems the rival captain is less so. Very few have anything to say about her, and for those that do, it's nothing positive. One student mentions she is particularly vocal in semiotics. Let's ask the professor of semiotics. The rival captain takes semiotics classes. A professor might be able to steer you in the correct direction. Oh yes, she is one of my brightest students. She is not the most talented with mathematics, but she does have a special interest in metaphysics. She even studies it on her own time and has requested extra credit for it. Interesting. Let's watch the other club members. They have to visit this invention at some point. It seems like the students share a secondary club together, the Tea and Cake Club. A sophisticated gathering dedicated to the appreciation of afternoon tea. You see them enter together, and from what you can tell, they are the only members. Well, let's identify the invention's location. You have all the information you need, and a good idea of where to look. The club room is nearby to the dining hall, and the door is unlocked. The aroma of pastry fills the room. Porcelain teacups and teapots are stored behind glass in a large cabinet. A polished wooden lower compartment that presumably holds the plates is locked. Bingo. Let's unlock the cabinet. It is the only locked door in here. Put pick to lock and see what is hidden behind. You pick the lock. It softly clicks open. There are stacks of plates as expected, but a source of warmth towards the left corner draws you to take a closer look. You pull out a red device the size of a rat's cage, warm to the touch. It's encased in metal, emits no sound, and has no living parts. Silent and lifeless compared to the Dapperlings' fungal network. Let's examine the invention. Not alive, from what you can tell. Unlike the mulchy fungal stench of the network, this device smells oddly homely, like warm biscuits. The metal tray inside of it is coated with a thin line of crumbs, and just above it, a thin crimson chain wraps around a red core, like the veins of a heart. It's one shade darker than a ruby. Well, there's only one thing for it. We have to turn it on. See what happens when it's operating. The device begins to heat up until the metal tray emits the warmth of a furnace, and you know better than to touch it. From its size, you could bake a single scone atop it. It seems fairly simplistic for all the complex math you saw the club working on. The red core in the center appears unchanged. The Somerset team's secret invention is an oven? Let's investigate the core. It doesn't appear to serve a function. The interior of the device is simple. Wires, metal, a thin coat of paint for style. There is unusual carved script written into the core. Whatever the core is, certainly has no place in a student's science project. It appears fringe and potentially worth disqualification. A crimson coil of uncertain purpose. Curious indeed. We can try to read the script, we only have a 30% chance. This will increase our nightmares. Let's try it. Oh, we succeeded. I genuinely did not expect to succeed there. You try to make out letters. The longer you stare, the more the glyphs shift, preventing you from assembling a word. With a flicker of insight, you think the glyphs may not represent a word, but an equation. An ever-shifting calculation adjusting in response to changes in the world. You continue to see the glowing edges of the equation even when you look away from the core. So it's an equation. We can remove the core to help the Deadly Dapperlings. Whatever it is, it might be what you need to get Somerset out of the summit. Remove the core for the safety of the contestants. Regardless of how well it bakes a stone, it is most certainly dangerous. Or we can remove the core out of curiosity. It's unlike anything you've ever seen before, and ripe for studying. Let's take it. Curiosity. You unwind the chain and pry the core from the center of the device. It feels ice cold in your palm. You try to turn on the device without it. It still works, although it takes slightly longer to heat up, better suited for warming soup than baking treats. This could be grounds for disqualification. You have in your possession the crimson core of the Somerset team's invention. All that remains is to do something with it. Do further research on the core before deciding what to do with it. A 50% chance. We failed. Your digging only brings up more questions. Can time be measured without a clock? Can two contradictory facts be true at once? Why does fate have a colour? By the end, even when you close your eyes, all you can see is red. Try again. We succeeded. This core is certainly a product of the red science. A branch of it concerning fate and luck and probability. A machine to tip the odds in Somerset's favour? It's not powerful enough to meaningfully change anything, assuming it even works, but it poses a huge risk nonetheless. This is undeniably the red science, and equally undeniably against the rules. We can turn in the core to the summit officials. A sure way to remove Somerset from the competition and keep yourself safe from any potential space or time-altering accidents. Or we can keep the core for ourselves. You may be able to discover its secrets in time. Somerset will remain in the competition, disadvantaged. You will still be able to use the core to slightly increase your ability in the red science. If any research time remains, and you already possess some knowledge. Hey, let's keep the core for ourselves. You decided to keep the core. Somerset will be set back having to redesign their invention without it anyways. I get something cool. You are on your way to the Dapperlings club room when the rival captain interrupts you in the middle of Benthic campus. I'm aware of what you've done. Her arms are folded, and she looks slightly above her glasses at you. For a moment, you wonder if she actually needs them, or chooses to wear them to appear more intelligent. This rivalry has nothing to do with you. You shouldn't have meddled in things you don't understand. I'm tempted to have a word with my professors about you and keep you away from Somerset. Okay. We can tell her she was breaking the rules. The core was a rules violation. Simple as that. We can deny it was you. She has no evidence that you were the one to meddle with their invention. We can persuade her that it was the right decision. The consequences could be a lot worse than disqualification. You are sparing her. Or we can tell her it was for her safety. Despite her words, she didn't know what she was meddling with. You do. You can tell her what you know. Let's go with this one. This option is only available if you have not angered the rival captain previously. You tell her about the dangers of messing with fate-altering science. She considers your words and shifts uncomfortably at the remark that she may have lost her own existence to it, had it worked. But then she steels herself. I'm not sure why you would care, or her for that matter. I know my sister would love the chance to wipe me out of history, so it's just Mum and her father, as if it had always been that way. Her words falter in the last sentence. You tell her that's not true. As far as you've known the stolid mathematician, She has been frustrated by her sister, but not spiteful. Family is difficult. The rival captain is uncharacteristically silent. Her scowl softens. When she finally speaks, you know she is generously giving you surface thoughts and nothing deeper. Well, I suppose I'm grateful. Maybe I did get a bit ahead of myself. I'm sure the reward was not such a big deal, anyways. My thanks is not getting you in any further trouble with my professors. She leaves without another word. I feel that went remarkably well. So, all that's left is club activities. The Inventors Summit looms. Do we want to perform more research in the Bugsby Marshes? Yeah, we can check on the Shy Devil to the west. The Shy Devil is crouched by the edge of a mucky stream, beaker in hand. The Shy Devil fills up a beaker of marsh water from the stream, pulls a flask from his vest, takes a swig, and then adds one drop of its contents into the water. The water fizzles in response, and he nods. It's for the soil of the network and receiver, he mutters without looking back at you. It helps make their roots more communicative. The fungi in these marshes communicate in a similar way to the network, like a giant hive mind. We are just borrowing a piece of that deep connection. He puts away the beaker. This is much harder to do with only 2 hands. If you might like to help, my lady, try gathering a water sample and testing if it might be suitable. But we cannot be here long. This marsh is wolf territory. He offers the flask and beaker to you. Add 1 drop of Amita sherry to your sample. The samples with the most microfungi present will fizz. Don't drink any of the sherry yourself. You'll die. So we can either gather water close to the Shy Devil. You feel more comfortable around him than other creatures in this marsh. We can gather water by the pool. The stream feeds into a small pool. Not much seems to be growing around it. Or we can gather water by the dense foliage. The bank is teeming with glowing fungi. Let's go there. Dense foliage. Probably going to be full of wolves or something. You take a beaker full of the water and add a drop Amanita sherry. The volatile fizzle is remarkable. Before you can gather any more, the rustle of foliage alerts you to the presence of a nearby creature. You quickly hurry off before it can see you. You reunite with the Shy Devil, who seems pleased, but doesn't ask you to help any further. The network is getting to know me. Let's go back. What else can we do here? We can raise funds for the club. Do we have any new options here? We can assist the Stolid Mathematician with setting up an auction. The Stolid Mathematician gestures to a small collection of items. I found some items we can put up to auction, but I'm not sure which. He pushes the items towards you. Your pick, my lady. We can put up the patent scrutinizer. This is an old lens I won in a maths contest. Not very valuable, but I'm sure we could find a bidder. A solid, if uninspiring, option. We can put up the carved ball of Stygian ivory. This second item is my father's. He got it at Z. It should be appealing to the unusual few. Oh, it's Stygian ivory. That sounds exciting. A professor of marine cryptozoology with a fascination of Z monsters wins the item after outbidding a guest lecturer on kelp horticulture. You count up the earnings. A fair amount, considering there were only 2 passionate bidders. Okay, let's go back. Let's work on the mycelium network. Or let's see what our advisor perks are actually, because I've never looked in here. The Benthic lab facilities are disorderly and heavy with dust, but they are perfectly functional. We can collate some research. We can collect some items for future research. We can advance your understanding of the red science. This intrigues me. Deepen your understanding of the red science by studying the core. The core is not particularly powerful artifact in the grand scheme of the red science. It is designed to alter one specific probability. But as 1 drop of lethal poison is often as deadly as a gallon, this does not make its use any less grave. It provides a small but fascinating look at how one might change fate through the tweaking of chance. I will take 5. I will be the most famous YouTuber by the end of the week. What are these collecting items for future research? What's this going to do? You gather a modest collection of objects worth studying. Surely they won't mind you taking the research efforts out of their hands. An ambiguous eolith and an unidentified thigh bone. We can collate some research. Why worry about review when you have everything you need at your fingertips? You study their notes, write down useful equations, and you even make use of their tea. It's a cheap mixed blend, but it gets the job done. By the end, you are more than ready to make science. Oh, we collated some research. 1 day of research remains. I'm sure this will be fine. Let's work on the mycelium network. Let's do something we know it's going to like. Let's give it some moral ways. Yeah, the wine sits on the soil untouched. You have time for one final adjustment. More moral ways. Aha, the network actively anticipates your interactions. The time for research is over. Okay, we need to attend the last club meeting. The time for experimentation is done. The day of the summit is here, for better or worse. The mycelium network is as complete as it will ever be. Let's attend the last club meeting. Dapperlings are boxing the network up, preparing it for transport to the venue. Their nerves are evident. The last club meeting before the summit arrives. The mycelium network has come along wonderfully. Once it even lit up when you approached it, as if your presence was reward enough. You have a bond with it, and you are sure of its success at the summit. The assembled Dapperlings look to you, expecting some final encouragement before their big day. So we can either encourage them, tell them you are proud of them, and ensure them that they will do wonderfully. We can discourage them, seem pensive, and inspire any confidence, or we can be ambivalent. The results don't matter. They made some unique discoveries. That's all that counts. Let's encourage them. Your encouraging words take root as the club looks more at ease. We couldn't have come this far without you, the fervid inventor says. Regardless of how things go, I know I speak for all of us when I say we are grateful. I'm also quite pleased with how far we've come, the clever incendiary adds. When I first joined, I wasn't sure if I was wasting my time with unreliable science, but the network has really grown on me. He pauses, smiling. Well, not literally, thankfully. The stolid mathematician and shy devil are content to stay quiet, but each give you grateful nods. You arrive at the summit with the Deadly Dapperlings following close behind you, like imprinted ducklings. The fervid inventor delicately carries the parts of the network in his arms. When you arrive, you wish them good luck and take a seat amongst the small group of spectators. A few attendees sit quite far back indeed. It's clear this is not their first summit. A good view places one squarely in explosion radius. Well, let's sit back and settle in. The first round of the summit begins. For the first round, we have the Strong Sweets Company, presenting their mints of vigour. An announcer waves the first team to the front. All they carry with them is a silvery tin of striped mint-like sweets and a large weight. They introduce themselves as graduates of the Department of Muscular Amplification and claim to have formulated a mint that grants you impressive strength. One of them pops a mint into their mouth, inhales sharply, and then lifts the weight with ease, as the metal casing were hollow and full of feathers. Of course, you mustn't take just our word for it. We will demonstrate the effect of our mints on a willing spectator. They search the crowd for a volunteer. Oh, let's go. You might get injured. You might get something for it. You are taken up to the stage and offered a mint. You put one in your mouth. Despite the name, it immediately sears your tongue, like sucking on a hot coal. You endure long enough to attempt to lift the weight and find it light as paper. The effect seems to settle into your muscles as you return to your seat. You do feel a bit stronger, but your mouth does not. What an interesting display. Next, we have the rooftop tinkerers presenting their long-distance flinger. The next team takes the stage. They are a pair of urchins, with something that resembles an automatic slingshot loaded with pre-rolled balls of mud. One of them crosses the room with a target, the other turns on the device. It hits the target perfectly. The urchin operating it nods in satisfaction and turns the device off. It does not turn off. It continues to fire, hurling balls of stinking mud around the venue. We can stop the invention. No one in the audience appears willing to do more than frantically dodge. Or we can leave it to them. Their invention. Their problem. Let's stop the invention. You jump from your seat and brave the onslaught of mud balls as you hurry towards the device. You can't turn it off, but you can break it. With a snap, you manage to remove the flinging arm from the device. "Thanks, Matchley," the teen urchin says from behind a spectator's chair. The announcer hurries them off and thanks you graciously, though you are not provided a towel. Well, that was awfully exciting. Moving right along, we have the Somerset Engineers presenting their Swift Baker. The rival captain leads the Somerset Club up to the stage. Let's watch the demonstration, see how it runs without the fate-altering core at its centre. The rival captain explains the function of their device, then places a clump of dough on the tray. Within a minute, the dough hardens into a scone. It looks quite lumpy, and when she breaks it open for the audience to see, it's still raw and doughy in the middle. But she hands one half to the nearest team member with a pointed look. They stuff it into their mouth with a suppressed grimace, chew through the lumps, swallow, and report it as delicious with hollow relish. Had the core been left in the device, it would have baked the scone thoroughly, secured a win, but possibly removed Somerset from existence. Either way, the only thing this invention is capable of making now is a poorly baked scone. The audience gives light, relieved applause at the simplicity of the display. The announcer thanks them and beckons to the next team. "Thank you, Somerset Engineers. Next, we have the Deadly Dapperlings presenting their mycelium network." The Deadly Dapperlings take the stage. The fervid inventor briefly explains its purpose as a communication device to the audience, describing how the receiver will light up through the roots it shares with the network. He takes a deep and shaky breath, then nods to the clever incendiary to activate the device. We can watch the mycelium network in action, see what happens when it's turned on one final time. We have a 100% chance of success. The network begins to glow and flashes 3 times. A second passes, and another, and by the third, the receiver sparks up, turns bright violet, then fades. Once, twice, and a third time. The audience braces for an explosion, but the receiver holds the warm and peaceful light the final time. They begin to clap. By the time the receiver drops its glow, the demonstration has long been accepted as a success. The announcer waves them off. You catch the joy and deep relief in the fervid inventor's face as he takes the network back into his arms. The final few rounds pass in a blur of non-responsive devices and semi-frequent explosions. Those spectators in the front row seats look distinctly singed by the end. After deliberation from a panel of judges, the results are ready. Announcing the winner of this year's David Solomon's Inventors Summit, the announcer opens up the envelope. The Deadly Dapperlings with their mycelium network. Your students look stunned as the crowd offers some polite applause. The announcer attempts to fix the ribbon onto the mycelium network. The ribbon falls to the soil and promptly sinks down to be consumed by the fungus. The receiver lights up in apparent delight. The Deadly Dapperlings won. The excitement sets in as smiles spread across their faces. You approach The Deadly Dapperlings as the crowd disperses. The fervid inventor is showering the mycelium network in doting praise like a proud parent, each compliment punctuated by a kiss on the receiver's cap. "Drinks on me, you swats," the clever incendiary whoops with delight, grabbing the stolid mathematician and shy devil round their shoulders. "It responded perfectly," the fervid inventor exclaims as you join them. "The network's communication was quick and clean. Thank you very much for sponsoring us, my lady. We could not have done this without you." The Deadly Dapperlings' celebrations run long into the night, but the matter of the grand prize hangs heavy. The best invention won, but is Iron and Misery their just reward? So we can send them off to the Iron and Misery Company internship. You trust they will reap the benefits and refuse to be embittered? Or we can write an Iron and Misery a letter of condemnation. Make scathing remarks about every member of the Dapperlings. It may hurt their future career options, but it may save them from the clutches of Mr. Iron. Let's send them off. I'm sure it'll be fine. Before you leave, the Dapperlings pull you aside. "We wanted you to have this, my lady," the fervid inventor says. "We pulled together what we had and struck up a few trades around Benthic until we received something worth giving you, and promised it would be yours if we won. Please take it with our thanks." The internship begins immediately. The Deadly Dapperlings are treated like royalty up to the day, sent their own equipment and wide list of perks. You are there to see them off at their request. Their futures unknown, but hopefully, if nothing else, lucrative. Let's go into the epilogue here. Some time has passed since the Deadly Dapperlings won the Inventors Summit and headed off to an internship with Mr. Iron. Your visits to campus are much quieter, without the hum of the network and occasional explosion. How are your former charges faring in their new position? Any correspondence will certainly be vetted and read by the company, so you choose your words carefully and anticipate they will do the same. You may check in with one of the Dapperlings. So the fervid inventor, the shy devil, the clever incendiary, or the stolid mathematician? So the fervid inventor, your first point of contact and the most passionate of the group, how is he faring now? The shy devil, a true devotee to science and innovation, has he made any discoveries? The clever incendiary, a firebrand itching for a firestorm. How have things been with the revolutionaries? Or the stolid mathematician, she only joined to oppose her sister. Does she feel any loyalty towards the club? Let's send a message to the mathematician. You receive a reply written in nearly illegible script. You have come to recognize as the stolid mathematician's personal code. I appreciate hearing from you, advisor. I never cared about a prize, much less an internship, and this has been an opportunity both grueling and gainful. We are working towards making a second network, and I've been able to recycle many of my previous equations to do so. I expected office work. We've been in the field gathering new specimens just as often, which is a small relief. This may not be my passion, but you can't deny the appeal it will have on my resume, and the personal appeal that comes from having an opportunity that my sister does not. The Dapperlings do what they do best, make the best of things. You tuck away the letter in your desk, along with your memories of the mentorship position, and turn instead to future endeavours. Like fungi enmeshed in dead wood, the Deadly Dapperlings are likely to thrive in whatever environment they find themselves. What remains? A scientific discovery or a student's pet project? You aren't entirely sure. This will conclude the story. Do you oversee the start of a communication revolution, or a peek into a fungal wisdom that London may borrow but never take? In any case, it seems prudent to regard the occasional stray clump of mushrooms with a new sense of respect and wariness. You never know what they are saying. This concludes the exceptional story, The Deadly Dapperlings. Or that was very interesting indeed. I enjoyed that story. A little bit of intrigue, a little bit of the red science. There seems to be quite a focus on the red science at the moment, so colour me intrigued because I know very little about it. But either way, thank you all very much for watching. If you sent a letter to a different person, please let me know. I'd like to know what the responses were of the Shy Devil and the Inventor and things like that. But like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Your comments are greatly appreciated. And as always, I'll see you next time.